Hello there, I'm Paul. So the title of this live is On What Terms Do You Live Your Life? What do I mean by that? What do terms mean? Well, how do you navigate every day? How do you deal with other people? I had an experience over the last couple of days where someone connected with me that I did not know and wanted to be my friend on Facebook and this kind of thing. I accepted them and then I engaged. They just gave a wave with a hi afterwards, which is the most insane level of connection, minimalistic Facebook, whatever you want to call it. So immediately I said, "How are you?" and asked her what she wanted by connecting. And some people think that's too direct, too whatever, and it led to a long level of engagement where the first thing I said is, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's talk. Let's figure out what's alive for you and me. And just by looking at her friends list, I saw that she connected with this woman, Nicole Daydome, that I follow. And I was on her live earlier that morning and expressed some very vulnerable stuff about myself. Very, very vulnerable about my relationships with women and other things. And I knew right then and there that that's what drew this woman to connect with me. Well, in the live where I stated connection, it was about, or stated my vulnerable stuff, it was about connection. And having no frame of reference of why this woman wanted to connect, I assumed it was based on that, which later came out to be true, was based on that sharing. And she wanted to connect with me because she saw a real person. She saw me living and very vulnerable and other things. And when I engaged, I said, let's have a conversation. I'd like to figure out what you want and all this kind of stuff. It's like, I'm only willing to have a short conversation, and I really prefer it was a bunch of voice texts and other things, which felt very uncomfortable to me. So I basically went back and I said, well, what would you like to discuss? And, she did not like me asking that. She said asking the word of what I'd want to, or what she wanted to discuss was very percussive. Well, it was direct. And then she claimed that she was all about direct and she loved to be direct and all this kind of stuff, but she was so indirect in her connection with me, I was confused. So I kind of went back and forth and reflected all these things for her, and she got very mad and basically projected it all back on me and took no responsibility for her part, and basically said, all I was looking for was a casual conversation. And that word just slapped me in the face. It's a word of avoidance, a word of not showing up for yourself, a word of being half-assed in your connection with another person. And this is the terms that I see a lot of people living their life on is casual. Make everything casual. Casual sex, casual conversation, casual relationships, casual friendships, casual partnerships is a way of staying arm's length and not really engaging or having any responsibility for your part in your life because it's casual and you've made no depth with anyone, or you've had no integrity, or you've had no self-responsibility. That's casual as far as I'm concerned. So do you live your life casually? And that question came back to me after I negotiated back and forth with this woman of what was going on. And she basically said, all I was expecting was a casual conversation, which she never said, but came in engaging off of this live, which was very deep and other things. So being that she had these expectations of how the conversation was going to go, but she hadn't stayed with them, I was left to guess. Which is crazy because that's not direct. That's a lack of communication. And then it leaves people to basically be able to disavow their part in conversation, in life, in anything. So when you're living life casually like that, not taking any self-responsibility, not being in integrity of honoring your word and other things, it's an escape. How do you escape in your life? For me to look at casual, I had to look at why I'm not casual, because it's important. I go in all in on everything. And people, that scares the fuck out of them because that's too direct. That's too much. That's being responsible for everything. If I say something, I'll admit it. If I made a mistake, I'll admit it. I even in that conversation with that person did that several times. I said, oh, okay, that's my wounding, and this is this, and this is that, and that's why I asked discussion percussively and this kind of stuff, and kept insisting on having a conversation, because a bunch of text messages, a bunch of voice messages, etc., back and forth is just like batting a ball back and forth between two people, and there can be no drilling down without this space, and then people can use that space of when they respond or how quickly they respond to basically twist it mentally by their ego and by their brain into something that it's not. I far prefer in the moment to just kind of drill down on things and have a discussion, and that's not casual in my terms. It's now responsible. Casual has a lack of responsibility. It's a casual relationship, casual sex. It's like, okay, well, we're not taking responsibility for the fact that we shared a very intimate moment in our bodies. We saw each other's bodies and we connected deeply. So casual just basically turns off all facets of the connection, all facets of the energy sharing, all facets of the really living, and lives us at this kind of arm's length, like, oh, I'm casual with you and I don't want to make a commitment. And I find women like to do this. Men are a little bit different, because I find that they're all in, but women want to be casual with men in so many ways so that they can stay arm's length, but in a way they're actually controlling everything. And a man that agrees to casualness, or whatever you want to call it, is basically kind of giving up his choice in a situation. So basically I saw this conversation that I was having with this woman, and then she turned it into, oh, it was only a casual conversation, but stated after the fact, which basically was not really part of the conversation, just made her not responsible for anything that she'd done in participating in the conversation to that point. And when I called her out on all that kind of stuff or whatever, it was like, oh, this is wrong and this is bad or whatever. Well, in Nicole Dodon's conversations that she's having recently, she's talking about a consort level relationship. And that's a relationship where you basically hold space in a massive way for evolution with a partner. So when this woman came in after this conversation on that, I assumed that that's what she was looking for, because she didn't say anything different, and was holding her to that level of integrity, which she didn't like at all. So it really made me understand how little people are taking responsibility in their life when they live from casualness. If you want to be casual with everybody and not be committed and just have a light conversations where there's no depth, where nobody can reflect for each other, where nobody can kind of say, hey, you're talking badly about yourself, or you just projected on me, or whatever, that's casualness. No responsibility, no depth, no awareness of the part that you're taking in your own life, and the patterns that you're replaying, and the stories that you're replaying, and the amount of times you're pointing fingers, but you're actually pointing 3 fingers back at yourself all the time. So I can't live in casualness anymore. That consort level relationship that I was talking about is something that goes into everything in my life. I basically look for the truth that's implied but not said. That's indirectness. So it's like, oh, I have no time for you anymore. Well, that's saying something about you're not resonating with that other person, or that other person is not in alignment with you or whatever, where it could be just like, I'm not in alignment anymore and I'm going to move on. So have a good day. Thank you. But no, instead we'll poke and hurt and make it the other person's problem, or whatever, or that person may be outgrowing you. So to speak it in truth and say, okay, yeah, something's shifting between us, and if you'd like to have a conversation, we can have a conversation. Otherwise, I'm more than happy to see you move on. But don't make it my fault. Who? So I reflected in truth to this person that was trying to be casual, which I suspect is a pattern for her, because I've lived my life in casual in the past. But there's so much more integrity and truth and self-awareness that comes from being in not casual, being all in, being invested in every relationship, every discussion, every thing that happens. Not immersing myself in it and boiling myself in the shit or whatever, but starting to understand my part in my choices and in my perspective that basically makes me continually avoid self-responsibility. So if you prefer to be casual with everybody in conversations, in interactions, etc., you avoid conflict, you avoid things that are being said but are not clear, etc., you basically are dishonoring yourself, is what I found in my world. I'm not speaking for you, but I'll tell you that the number of times that I've agreed with somebody that I didn't agree with, or allowed their indirectness to basically live in my relationship, hurt my heart, and made me feel like I was playing a game with people, and it was constantly chess and all this kind of stuff, where if you blow through it and you say indirectness, there's something else going on here and I can feel it. Let's talk about it. How many people can say that? And I will tell you, that is the most important conversation you'll probably ever have in your life. It'll be hard. It'll be maybe intense, because you'll be talking about something that's maybe existed in a relationship for a long time, or existed in your wounds, my wounds, in the past. And I've learned more about myself by asking direct questions in those situations. And it was so beautiful when I got to the end of my interaction with that person. I basically made this very poignant statement. I'd read it, but I can't do that at the same time here. But it basically said, my smile and my loving heart comes from living in that level of integrity in every moment in all I do. And it brings great joy to my heart to basically transit through a request to be casual when it wasn't stated, but thrown at me afterwards. It gives me great joy to say, I do not want a casual relationship. I do not want to be casual in my life in any way, shape, or form, because I would be avoiding and not taking responsibility and just letting everything just kind of spill out and happen. Where if I'm consciously driving the boat or navigating in my life, instead of being casual and just seeing what shows up and never asking for my desires, or never asking for what I want or whatever, trying to please another person, it's just another circumstance of this, you'll have no conflict in your life, because you just basically give up at every battle. That's what casual is, as far as I'm concerned. You may guide and say, and set a boundary and say, I'm not wanting that, or I'm not wanting casual sex, or I'm not wanting a casual relationship, or whatever. But most people go in with this casualness and then can't figure out why their life's not working out, why they keep getting the same results or whatever. Well, be causal instead of casual. Very different words. Causal is like, by making choices and saying things and being direct, I can create a cause and effect relationship. Instead of casual is kind of exactly the opposite. The word has no power. It has nothing. It's just like, let's see what shows up. I have no control of my life. I'm just running around and seeing what happens. I know for sure that people are attracted to my power, my light, my truth. So to live casually would take that from me. To live with causality in everything that I do, and call it out, call casualness out onto the table, which is going to squirm and be angry and frustrated and probably project back at you or whatever. But casualness gets you nowhere. Anybody can walk away from casual in an instant. Ghost, and I have no responsibility in this. I did not participate. My words did not have any responsibility in them. That's what casual is. Well, your words are your truth. Your integrity is following through with what you say and what you agreed and other things. And until you've got that on the table in clarity and directness, you will sacrifice yourself to that other person. They can change their mind whenever they want and get away with murder because they never really made a statement. It was all casual. It was like, hey, I'm not committing to anything. I'm not worrying about anything. I'm not telling you what I want. I might have to be responsible then. And even then they'll be not responsible because it's way easier to just point the finger at the other person and say, hey, that's all your fault. Rather than putting a hand on the heart and saying, okay, when I'm causal, I have to look at everything that shows up in my system, my frustration, my worry, my triggers, my maybe I'm wrong, and these things, which is very different because taking a casual nature to everything in my life destroyed me. It made me weak, and it made me feel lost because I was just going with the flow and doing whatever everybody else wanted and agreeing to interactions with people that were taking from me, vampiric, whatever you want to call it, narcissistic, etc. And that's a person that's casual and is just running around without a care of what they're doing or any responsibility for what they're doing. They're going to get that same back. They're going to get other people that are casual and basically will hurt them or will scare them off or do things that give no value to anyone. So I'm just saying, take a moment. And do you live in a deeper way with other people, or do you live at just the surface level? Because that's what casual is as far as I'm concerned, surface level. I stated back to her that it's kind of a half-assed way of living, because if you're casual, you're basically not living. You're basically just bumping into everything and seeing what shows up and having to accept stuff that you didn't like and having to accept a little bit of what you maybe wanted. And then you can't figure out why your life's not working out for you because you're just being casual about life. Well, are you all in on life? Are you making decisions? Are you asking for what you want from people? Very different things. So be causal, not casual, and everything will change. Ask for what you want. Speak openly about it. Hold people in integrity. Hold them to their word. Don't give them that out of casual. And then those changes will start to happen in your life. And I'm so excited for that. I'm glad that I'm causal, not casual. What are you? Ask yourself. Go dig into it. Re-listen to this video after you've kind of explored it a little bit, and you'll be surprised. I love you. I thank you. Live from purpose. Live from your light, and you'll smile like this. Everything will change, I promise.